Hi guys and welcome back. Now you remember in video 1277 we made this thing by using sodium alginate, which is the stuff that you use for dental casts, and it's basically seaweed so you can throw it away. But the detail it can pick up is incredible. Now we used this in video 1280 as a mould for gloves. The gloves came out really well, and of course those gloves themselves can be used for moulds, but it does leave us with a massive lump of rather attractive, I say so that myself because it's my hand obviously, rather attractive plaster of Paris, and a huge question about what to do with it. Now one thing I was thinking about doing with this was turning it into a light, but then it occurred to me that me and Luke are forever fighting over camera mounts. We have this huge backwards and forwards over camera mounts, and oddly enough I thought this would make an awesome camera mount, particularly for this. This is my iPhone. It's mine now, but it was Luke's, but he left it on the desk and he turned his back. So I now have this camera phone, and if I can rest that in there, then the actual camera itself will go past the fingers, which is really cool, and give me access to the screen and controls. So I wanted something kind of like that angle, and the thought is to make this into a mount, tripod mount for my iPhone, so I can use my iPhone to take film. Now I've used this iPhone before, and we did the video in Cologne with this iPhone, and of course the rumour is that they're making Hollywood movies on iPhone, so perhaps it's not too crazy. So I was thinking about making a camera mount of it. So clearly what I want is something pretty to mount it on, which I've got, and it is this thing. This is a bit of breadboard I got from the local store. Great place to get hold of things. My friend Russ tells me that this would be an excellent wood for the things that he does by himself in his shed. He does high voltage creep. So he puts high voltage on here and it makes these pretty patterns all over it that look like lightning or trees, and it does it really randomly. It's a fractal high voltage pattern, and he tells me it would be good for that. I'm going to use it as a base for my hand-shaped camera mount. So clearly, a couple of things to do. One, get this to the level where it's got kind of the right angle, so I get a nice pretty picture and it's holding it relatively firmly, which is something like there. So I need to flatten that off so it does that. Then cut my bit of board to the right shape. So I'm going to do that. So it's dead easy. I've just cut out a nice square that I think is a reasonable size, and what I've done is marked out the hand and cut it off. To mark out the hand, I put it the angle I wanted, a couple of fingers, a pen in there, draw around it, you get a rough mark, and then I've sawn it off. I guess you could sand it off if you want. Now we're going to paint it. To paint it, I put a screw in there, a little bit of wire, and we're going to go over that with some copper paint. Okay, that is looking cool, hey, because all I've done is spray it with copper, but it's a bit too bright and garish. I mean, it's a lovely coppery colour, but it's still a bit bright, so what we need to do is bring it back a little bit. Now, there is a product called antiquing wax that you can buy, and you can rub that wax on, and it makes it much more antique. Or you can use this little method, which is a mix of wood stain and varnish. So I use a clear varnish, and then we've got a bit of wood stain here. It's a mahogany red wood stain, and you mix it up about 2/3 varnish, 1/3 wood stain. Dip a rag in there. You don't want to brush it on because you want it a bit more random, and you just wipe it on and then brush it back off again, and it'll take the colour back into much more of an antique copper look. And as you wipe it on and brush it off, it will also stay in the wrinkles, giving that kind of like patina to the wrinkles. And all we do is wipe that on, brush it off in a random way. Don't do it too much or you'll lose the randomness and you'll effectively polish it. And then we leave it to dry. After you've done that and given it a bit of time to dry, you take some furniture wax, and this is Colron finishing wax, and a little bit of graphite. So it's about half a teaspoon of this, quarter teaspoon of that. Mix it up because you really don't need that much. And we make a nice kind of graphite wax. Then what you do is apply it to the surface and give it a good rub, because it'll sit in the folds and creases, and you'll take it off of the highlights. And you just go over the whole thing, rubbing in that furniture wax and graphite. And there it is, finished. Now clearly there's a whole range of finishes you could put on this, including bought finishes like treasure wax, or a search on YouTube to find different finishing techniques, so you could just get a whole host of looks to this. I quite like that look, and of course we had this laying around from previous projects, and we did it to be a phone holder, so we could stick that in there and take some video without having to fight over the camera shoe like we normally do. But clearly, if you moulded this as per the previous videos in different shapes or something like that, then you could have something like a ring holder, and of course it could be personalised to the person whose rings they want to hold. Equally, if you grab something like this, and that's kind of cute, isn't it? It's just a light bulb. And if you moulded it so that it was like that, then you could make yourself a really interesting lamp holding the ideas light, if you like. There's a load of things you could do with something like that. I've just chosen to do that because we had it lying around, and the finish is just a finish I like, and there's a tons of finishes available. But anyway, that's how you go about making something as simple as that would be pretty and useful, as they say. Tatamune decius, according to the Latin. There we go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe.